previously discussed, we have our work types of processes and projects. Remember, projects themselves are one-time activities. They have a start and a stop. Projects are not repeatable. Projects are cross-functional. They come from a lot of backgrounds, from being marketing departments, IT departments, program departments, finance department. Whenever you're crossing those boundaries to get a one-time work initiative done, that's a project. Processes are your day-to-day operations. Processes are having a supplier or an individual or a tool take inputs, run it through a series of steps to convert those inputs into resources or good outcomes and outputs for that customer who receives that. Processes are repeatable. Your payroll process, your brushing your teeth process, your whatever it is, those things are established so that every day you kind of have this routine and you get this workflow done. You convert an input to an output, and there's different suppliers and customers along the way in those steps. Now, a SIPOC can help diagram and break out your process. It's a Lean Six Sigma tool where before you even can create a structure for work or create a management framework or assign resources or truly understand what sort of change you should implement, you need to document your current state and know what is currently happening. So you can use the SIPOC diagram to document your suppliers' inputs, the steps to convert those into outputs, with who your key customers are, along with their specific requirements, because in a lean framework, you want to make sure to drive value to your customers. At the end of the day, the biggest return on investment is driving value to whoever the process customer is, whether that's an internal or external stakeholder. So you'll see here in an at-home model, Bill and Sue, husband and wife, have medications and diet that they're trying to do in order to manage Bill's blood sugar level. Keep Bill's blood sugar level within the normal range. Why? Well, we want Bill, our customer, to survive. We might have downstream customers as well, like Sue, his spouse, or his children, or his employer who wants Bill to survive as well. Notice that customer is also the supplier. They're playing an important role in the process by identifying the inputs that need to happen throughout the steps that ensure we get our good value-added output of having that healthy blood sugar level maintained. However, it is really important that before you start your process, once again, because they're repeatable, that you figure out how you can improve those processes. Can you eliminate any waste? Can you decrease inputs and get the same outputs? Can you improve relationships with suppliers to provide even more value to your end customer? If you follow a retrospective after your process implementation, you can identify ways to improve that. However, improvement means change, and there are a lot of barriers to change, although we live in an environment where change is a necessity because we have external social or economic environmental influences, work level or industry level influences, whether that's our stakeholders, other teams, trade association, government compliant rules, or even at the individual level and at the process level. There are different things happening and going on in those environments that create an opportunity for something new and something different. We have to be responsive. And remember, behavior is a function of the individual and the environment. So if our environment is changing, our behavior is going to change. And it would be best if the individual could control for some of that, so they have control over where the change is lying in the behavior, and the change is not just affecting them. So you're being more proactive rather than reactive to your change. Now, even though change is inevitable, there are barriers and discomfort and uncertainty around change that makes people feel uncomfortable. Remember, we talked about cognitive dissonance. We talked about the ABCs of attitudes, where there are affective, behavioral, and cognitive reasons as to why people don't like change. We're creatures of habits. Now, that's very interesting because, again, our environments are constantly changing, whether they're at the societal, task, or internal level, there's always change happening. So we have to be very careful when we're implementing change to ensure to mitigate some of these barriers or constraints. So having a change agent, having adequate finances and capacity for the change, and giving time for the change to take place is a good depiction of looking at how performance and productivity is influenced over time when you're implementing a new change to a process or an organization. You'll see that when the change is implemented, because of the transition that you need to do, whether that's training, understanding the new processes, getting phone lines switched, or getting new networks established, there's going to be a dip in productivity and performance. That's expected. But what happens, instead of letting us realize the return on investment in that change, people often get scared and they make another change, and then another change, and another change, and another change. And then we're so far behind the mark, we not only took a big divot in our productivity and performance, but we've also lost the opportunity to bring our people along in that process or in our organization to our more positive end state. So just looking at the work itself, right? We operate in a dynamic environment. Again, behavior is the function of the environment and the individual. So if the environment is ever adapting, doesn't matter what industry, economy, political climate, culture we're in, there's going to be evolution. And although we might see good business outcomes going, if we do not plan for the future and be proactive, we're going to miss out. The old adage that don't mess with success is quite antiquated, because we need to figure out ways to adapt, evolve, and not just survive, but thrive in new dynamic environments. Again, this is where plan, do, check, act thinking, or root cause analysis thinking, or continuous improvement, or taking the time to complete retrospectives. All of those different terms are different tools in your Lean Six Sigma toolkit that you can do to make sure that you're managing any sort of barriers to change. Deep organizational change inevitably produces conflict, because when things are uncomfortable, they're new. The new is uncomfortable. So change is new. So people who lead change are often trying to suppress conflict in an effort to maintain positive energy and forward movement. You need to really be a champion of that change. Turn the conflict into a catalyst for improvement by building a container to hold those people together. Leverage the power of different voices. Give your employees a voice and give them opportunities to talk. Let conflicts that arise really surface and talk to them. To move forward in that transitionary period so they can realize that success. Well, how do we do that? I mean, if you don't have a change agent, or you have poor market conditions, or there's just a disengaged workforce, there's actually ADKAR, ADKAR, change management. That is a process or a philosophy. Possibly reference this in your papers. This is a philosophy that can help people change. I help by bringing them and making an awareness of the business need. This is where capturing your employee's voice or ensuring, good strategic planning is important. Emphasizing and cultivating a desire for that change. So sharing the why and the purpose-driven background behind your business initiatives that you want to explore. Share those. Make it a desire to your individuals who need to participate in that process and help it move forward or change or improve. Give them the knowledge or the tools, and the tools, that's where knowledge and ability comes together so they can actually implement, and then reinforce it. This is where a lot of things get dropped because implementation can be scary and stressful, and if we don't reinforce it, we're going to see those dips. So reinforcement, whether that's having post-implementation meetings or really talking about what went wrong, so next time you do something new, you can do it even better.